Okay, greetings and salutations. This is hopefully going to be relatively quick. Last night I was on a hangout with Sean Hufford, and we kind of did an impromptu analysis of the Ranty Rant Rant images of Blackpool Tower, supposedly from Hoy Lake, which he used a reference. Hold on a second. Hold on a second. Let me mute this for a second. Okay, sorry about that. Let me finish getting situated here, and then let's see, oh, like that. Okay, and Blackpool or cesspool, exactly. Anyway, I was analyzing the Ranty Rant. Let me start from the beginning. I had seen that Anthony Reilly had done a video calling out Squeaker Alpha. Squeaker Alpha, when he makes a video, all he basically does is post some factual information, and it seems to drive people nuts when he does that, which is perfectly fine. And I have not yet found Squeaker Alpha to be wrong with anything, so I wanted to find out what was going on. Now, he didn't go into very much reference. There was apparently something about squeezing a picture and whatever, which I found no evidence of. But nevertheless, I wanted to find where the source imagery came from, and so I went into Anthony's Hangout, or excuse me, not his Hangout, into his channel, and I was looking for the video that was being referenced. And then I found out that it wasn't actually his video, which I'm starting to get annoyed with. He wasn't using his material. He was using material from a guy named Ranty Rant Rant. Now, Ranty Rant Rant, I'll just call him Ranty. I'm not going to say that about 12,000 times here. He had, let's see, he had taken his photo. Well, let me share this out here. Boom, boom, boom. Share. Okay, and present to everyone. Now, he had taken a photo from, this is a photo from Southport. Now, I had no problem with this photo, and as a matter of fact, it's very clear, it's very sharp when I zoom in on it, and which was really great. Now, he was going through it, and while he was talking, he was identifying landmarks, and he was comparing those landmarks to images that were in a very blurry duration exposure photographs of Blackpool Tower, supposedly from Hoy Lake. Now, and we got to playing with that. I wanted to find out what was going on. Now, one thing that he says in his video at the 1537 mark is that this right here is apparently, this is his writing, I didn't put anything on here, that this right here is a crane. Okay. So the first thing I had to do was I had to analyze all this. I had to analyze what I was seeing in this picture. Obviously, this is the roller coaster called the Big One. Now, apparently, this is a like a free fall tower or something like that called Ice Blast or something. But I had to go through and find out where all of these things were, and I was able to narrow down exactly where the guy was standing when he took the picture, and just by a simple line of sight. And now over here is see, now he says crane on Fisher's Field in Blackpool. Now Fisher's Field, or Fisher's Fold, depending on which way it's pronounced, I guess, is over here. Okay, it's back behind this pier. You can look it up on Google Earth. Now, he was calling this a crane. Now, this is not a crane. This is actually an antenna tower. Okay, this is a radio antenna tower. It's a big, tall antenna mast, and of which I have seen a couple of times now. As a matter of fact, I'll even show it to you. Hold on a second, because it's going to come into the story later. Where is, hold on a second, I'm bringing up on Google Earth here. Where was it? Where was it? Now it's up this main drag here, and then, well, I'll actually see it better when I fall down like this a little bit more. There is a radio tower. Where? Oh, come on. Where is it? There it is. A little blotchy. Okay, it's this radio tower is the radio tower that is being called a crane in this image. Okay, this is a radio tower. Now, he's calling it the crane. Now, this actually threw off everything that I was doing. Now, I agree that there are large cranes out there, available that have a light beacon on top of them. Makes sense, right? And they'll have a light beacon on top of them because they're tall, and there is an airport in the area, so obviously they would want to have some kind of a marking light on it. That kind of threw me completely off because I was trying to, now I knew it wasn't here, but he was obviously the guy who took the photo, so he would have to know that there was a crane there, and he would have actually seen it better than maybe even the photo would have produced. So, but then, like I said, we got into it last night on Sean's Hangout to try and identify where the photo was taken from. Now, I was actually pretty much convinced. Now, mind you, we're dealing with a photo here that's just blurry as hell. This isn't lined up to anything. That we're dealing with photos here that are blurry as hell. Okay, they really are. They're blurry as hell. Now, one thing that was working in the favor of this actually being a shot from Southport and not from Hoy Lake is the fact that there is no coastline to be seen here. Now, all in front of Blackpool. Now, mind you, beyond Blackpool, about a mile beyond Blackpool, north and south of it, there are high sand dunes. Okay, so you're not going to see a whole lot of shit. But in front of Blackpool, as a matter of fact, let me go ahead and see if I can bring up this image I was looking at last night. Hold on a second here. Blackpool at night. Blackpool at night. Images. Okay, yeah, that was the one I was looking at. I think there was a larger one though. Well, nevertheless, Blackpool at night. View image. No, that's the small one. I don't want the small one. I want a big one. But the whole front side there of Blackpool in front of the tower, like I said, it's basically like a strip there. View image. There we go. Now I got a nice big one here. It's all wide open. Okay, there are no dunes there, and there's also these two. Actually, there's three huge, long, well-illuminated piers with various types of entertainment rides and stuff like that. They're basically little amusement parks on each one. And in a minute, you guys are going to hate this this large Ferris wheel out here. Okay. So what was missing, and what it made it more even more believable that it was shot from Southport, was the fact that all of that lighting, all of that strip lighting, at least from here to here, okay, if this was taken from Hoy Lake, all of this would be a strip of light. You wouldn't be able to notice anything on it other than just a big ugly strip of light, of which there is not. Okay, now what it does match up to, or what it did match up to in my analysis last night. Hold on a second. Where is it? Okay. This is one of the night shots. Excuse me. One of the night shots, and it was Dazza the cameraman did a color enhancement on it. And didn't change it, didn't move its scale or anything, but did a color enhancement on it. And let me get the transparency right again. Okay. This was the color enhancement that he did. Okay. Now, we learned in this particular shot that apparently during the duration of the long exposure, it was probably bumped because there's a ghost of the tower here, there's a ghost of this light over here, etc. Everything got jolted to the right. okay, which is fine, especially if you know that there's only one tower there. Now, when I laid this and laid it out to scale on here, it also matched up with the dunes, okay, which would make it plausible of why you don't see anything here except for the tips of a couple of lights. And now this light here, which he had said was the tip of a crane, the tip of that crane that I just showed you a second ago, and he actually identifies it. He had said that, well, he had said that there was a light on the tip of a crane on Fisher's Fold or Fisher's Field, whatever. Fisher's Field is over here, so it actually made sense that that light would actually be there, and he was just incorrect about the landmark that he identified. Well, and something else that lined up remarkably was, if you look here, this is kind of a trench that goes out of the water, you know, during tides and stuff like that. And this line right here, if you could see, it lined up perfectly. Okay, so I had no other real reason to doubt that this was actually a shot taken from Southport. Okay, it made perfect sense. Now, one thing that bugged me, something was bugging me about it this morning when I woke up, and I even had a message from Sean saying that they kind of came across some different evidence last night. Now, he doesn't have the hangout posted publicly, so I don't really know. I don't know what was presented, so it gave me pause to actually relook at this stuff. And I am here to say that this shot, as beautifully as it lines up, okay, after the research I've done this morning, as beautifully as it lines up with the dunes and with lights, and even the break in the light for this building right here, I mean, it was hard to refute. But I'm here to say that I am now of a different opinion, and it actually was shot from Hoy Lake. Okay. Now, the first thing that gave me pause on this was there was a much wider image, this one right here. This much wider image. This is what actually caused me to relook at this. Now, if this was actually on, if this was actually a shot of Blackpool Tower from Southport, then given the information that is available in this picture, okay, this wide shot from Southport, the beginnings of the big one, and then possibly a light on this tower here, this I think it's called Ice Blast or something like that, there would be illumination visible. Whether it was blurry or not, there would be illumination visible. And because the, oops, which where the hell was it? But because there wasn't, as a matter of fact, well, I don't have a transparency on it, but I'm just I'm admitting that because of this wider shot, okay, the beginnings of the big one and Ice Blast would be here. Okay, it would be visible. There would be, even if it was just a dim glow, it would be here. Okay, so I'm here to say that, okay, maybe I was wrong on that. So what I had to figure out is, okay, what am I actually seeing then? Because if I'm not seeing the strip of lights, but I'm not seeing the big one over here, then what am I looking at? Now, what I ended up looking through, okay, for one, this discussion of this crane is gone, okay, because if this was a shot taken from Hoy Lake, the distance off to the side of where Fisher's Field or Fisher's Fold is, it's out of the shot. Okay, it's completely and totally out of the shot. Okay, so a crane on Fisher's Field, it could be blinking pink and it wouldn't matter. Okay, it really wouldn't matter. So so what I ended up with is now I got to messing with a little bit of color enhancement and stuff like that to find out what colors things actually were, because everything was either blue or red. And but by messing with the hues a little bit, nothing else, just with the hues, I was trying to figure out what it is. Now, word is that word is that this light down here at the bottom is that heart that's on the front of Blackpool Tower. They illuminate it different colors or whatever. And so I wanted to find out, okay, is that possible that's what that is? Now, if there's nothing but water between Hoy Lake and Blackpool Tower, then there would be, like I said, the strip, the road strip here in front, and this would be a good ways up the tower. It's actually about, I would say, right around about a third up the tower. Okay, I even got to playing with that to find out exactly how high that was supposed to be. Here's the heart, and they do illuminate it quite brightly. I mean, it's pretty intense. And so the what I looked at here, it's 150 something meters to the top, and here's where the heart would be located. And so if that is a glow, it's at the base, so this much of the tower is missing in that photo. Okay, if that's that, because there's nothing down here on the bottom. There's no town, there's no nothing. Now, I heard Anthony in another thing trying to say something about high tides and low tides. I'm sorry. High tides and low tides are not selective things. They're either happening or they're not, and you are either above them or you're not. So what I ended up with, and through a lot of searching around today, what I ended up with is that the, hold on a second here, let me close this. What I ended up with using line of sight, okay, this being the overhead view of the Blackpool area, what I ended up with was I drew a bunch of lines to to each one of these lights. These two lights, this light, and this light. Now, I was trying to draw it out as much as I could, moving this to as much a scale as possible. Then what I did was I went on to Google Earth, and I would draw out those lines at those intersect points. And what do you call it? Which is, like I said, again, it's just line of sight. There's nothing spectacular about it. Okay, and I drew out these lines. And what I figured out is, oops, wow, I went way too far there. What I figured out is that the big one, this big light, now I'm not saying that this light itself is the light that is on top of the big one, because it sits too low. I made that comment yesterday. It's actually sitting a little bit lower than the glare. So maybe that's off of another ride, and maybe there's some kind of spectacular lighting set there, because it is far too intense to be related to just a single aircraft light. Okay, so there's something, the light itself is something else. However, I lined that up to Google Earth, and this up to Google Earth as well. Now, then we had these two, then I had to figure out where these 2 points were. So I went on to Google Earth, and I lined up, where's that? These 2 blue lines on the right side. Okay. Now, these 2, let me turn 3D buildings off because that tends to mess with the image. Okay, these 2 blue lines are the 2 lines that I had lined up to those lights. Now, what I ended up with goes over one pier, but it ends up at this pier. Now, let me put 3D buildings back on. As Shans, I don't remember the guy's name from last night, had said, it matches up pretty much perfectly to these 2 spires. Now, these 2 spires, as I understand it, are one of those bungee rides. You can see it down here. It's one of those basket bungees. So there is every reason why the tips of these would be lit up, okay, or at least the whole towers would be lit up. So that does actually match, okay. That matches these 2 lights, okay. Now, in that same scale, this light here matches, or at least this whole conglomerate of crap here, that does match this whole area right here of where the big one is. Okay. Now, I had to figure out what this light was, and there seems to have been a little bit of back and forth discussion between other people of what that light is. Now I know what that light is. Okay, because I lined it out, and because I did just some simple line of sight stuff, That turns out to be, where is it? Sometimes it's not as fun as it wants to be. Where's it at? There it is. That goes right along this line and lands right at that radio tower. So I would guess that at the top of that radio tower, there's probably a couple of obstruction lights, because it lined up perfectly to that. I drew a line out from the tip of this here, which I will show right here, all the way down to the position where the photo was taken. Oh, I gotta turn 3D buildings off. All the way down to the position where the photo was taken, and where's it at? Okay, right there across that tip. That's right there across that tip, directly above it, and it works out to be that antenna, which makes perfect sense. You know, I mean, if you've seen enough antennas in your life, as far as the larger groupings, they have those. They have a lot of lights on them, just to keep people safe. And there's the cross of that tip there. There's the cross of that tip. I keep on forgetting the distances on these things, but nevertheless, so the photo is taken from Hoy Lake. I'm cool with that. Okay, I was wrong last night. I'll admit that. I was a little tired anyway, but I was going on the fact that he kept on referencing that damn crane. Cool. Now, having said that, there are now things that you guys have to answer for. Okay, now obviously this photo was not taken from underwater. Okay, so it was taken from above the water. And as it was taken from above the water, there's a lot of shit missing below it. Okay, so the whole rest of the lower part of this right here, like I said, is that pier. What I think it's called South Pier. I don't remember exactly which pier name it is. Okay, but it is this pier, and I think it was called South Pier. That being these two lines. Now this is the line of sight. These blue lines here are the line of sight all the way out to the claimed position. There was also another reason why we found that we could doubt the GPS, the geotagging that was done on the photos, is it took Sean maybe all of about 10 minutes to figure out that you can post photo, as far as, you know, after the photograph was taken, you could change the geotags to whatever you want to. Okay, they are not binding things. You can change them to whatever you want them to be. So even geotagging the photos didn't help, or at least it didn't sell it, because they're you can modify them. But these two lines are these two lights. This here is this line to the middle of Blackpool Tower. Now, there's a whole nother problem here. Besides all the rest of the crap that's on here, which I'm sure is quite well illuminated. I mean, like I said, they're like amusement parks. There's all this crap. All of it. Okay. Now, as you can see, to the left of Blackpool Tower, there is nothing. Okay. No illumination, no lights, no nothing. Okay. Whereas there's a whole bunch of stuff going on to the left of Blackpool Tower. There's this Ferris wheel. There's also a couple other things going on here. I'm quite certain that just like everything else in this area, all of this stuff has some high illumination to it to attract customers, plus it's exciting, whatever, or restaurant out here, and whatever's going on. Okay, but this big ass thing, which is also seen right here, okay, and plus all the other stuff that's going on these piers, okay, you can see they're well illuminated. This is a shot taken from a helicopter, I guess, or an airplane or whatever. And that photo was being shot from this direction. As a matter of fact, the line of sight would have gone to just outside of this pier. So that means you should have seen this bright ass Ferris wheel, all of this crap, all of this crap, all of this crap, and then all of this. Okay, at least up to here on a flat Earth. Okay, now I do admit that down here beyond the big one, the sand dunes do start picking up, and even down in Google Street View, you can't even see over them. Okay, and so that would block a lot of lights and stuff. But since nothing is there, there is nothing else here except for the big one, those two towers of the bungee thing, and Blackpool Tower. Now, this was said to be that heart, and which the heart would be on the visible side of Blackpool Tower from Hoy Lake. Well, according to this, it's right there at the surface of the water. According to the calculations on just on the basic calculations of the Earth curve calculator, the water would obstruct the view of Blackpool Tower about 2/3 up, all the way to about 2/3 up, which would be about right here. Okay. Now, refraction over water would bring a couple of things a little bit back into play. Now, mind you, we are talking about less than 1 degree of view here. Far less than 1 degree of view. Okay, and we all know that that's where the refraction takes place, is within about a degree above and below of water. And so, I'm sorry, but you're going to have to figure out where the entire rest of Blackpool went in the photograph, and these three piers. Okay, they are not visible. This photo was not taken from below the water level, of course not. So that's all it really is. So my definitions last night were based primarily, honestly, and I'm feeling a little bit silly about that. Primarily because in Ranty Rant's thing, now somebody said last night in the chat, or in the video itself, that Ranty Rant had done a retraction of this. Well, I'm going to say this: if he did, I don't know about it. I didn't see it. But the other side of it is if he did, then why is this video still available? Because this is a huge blunder. That is a radio tower. That's a church. That's another building. That's a smaller antenna mast behind Blackpool Tower. I mean, I went through all this. This is a much larger church and a much closer church. I went through all of this. Okay, and because I was trying to figure out what the landmarks were, what the line of sight to each one of the landmarks should be, to figure this out. So, in short, my analysis last night was, well, it was off, but that was because of the fact that I couldn't see Blackpool at all. Okay, you cannot see Blackpool at all in this photograph. Whereas you should see, now mind you, this is a little bit exaggerated because it's from above and you're seeing all the rest of this, but you should see this whole strip up to about here, plus this pier, and this pier, without fail. Without fail. Even if it was just a blurry mess. Okay? You don't see any of that here. So, ultimately, what it is this is a blurry yet worth something shot from Hoy Lake at the position that he said he was. Okay, I'm here to say that. At the position he said he was, which was, hold on a second here, I'll show you, oops, I'll show you exactly where I went all down on it. Okay, these were all the locations that I was pulling back to. Oops, stop that. To this location. All of those spots I did from right here at this location. And they lined up perfectly. Which is to say that Blackpool Tower, according to Earth curvature math, would not have been 100% knocked out, but it would have been about 2/3 up. Which we know that refraction does take place, and therefore that's the end of that, which is the reason why lower objects like this strip, and this strip of amusement park piers are not visible in the image at all. You just don't see them because they're far lower. And all of this strip line here, all of this strip, it would have basically been from one side. It would have, well, now that I look at it, it would have been a strip of light from the big one all the way up to and beyond the Blackpool Tower. This would have been a stripe of lights. So ultimately, thanks for the shot of the globe, guys. That's curvature for you. Okay? Nothing more to say about it. And Anthony, if you decide to make a video in reply to this, don't bring up the skunk Bay videos until you can figure out where they were shot from, because you still have not answered yet where your what was he calling it? He was calling it something else. It wasn't just convergence. Whatever. At what point that takes place, because obviously things above it are not affected. So, we all good? That's all I wanted to knock out today. I wanted to basically just make clear and make good on what it was that I was working with last night, and the fact that I realized that yeah, I was a bit off, because like I said, parts of it were bugging me. And if you see, oh, okay, I even got it right here on this image here. Format picture, fill. Okay, now this is what I was meaning before about the big one. Now I don't have this perfectly lined up right now, but something like this. This was similar to my prediction last night and my analysis last night. Fisher's Field is over here, and then I chalked this up as two of the buildings behind it and all that. You would have seen the beginnings of this whole area, and maybe even a light on top of this in this image, which is what caused me to reevaluate what it was that I was looking at. A said crane is not existent in this photo, so there's nothing else. There's nothing else to really describe on this, and so I got nothing else on this. Just wanted to make sure that I put it out clear, because there were people watching the video last night, and my analysis was a bit off because of the information that was provided was also off. And it matched up perfectly to sand dunes as to why I couldn't see Blackpool. Turns out, nope, it wasn't sand dunes. It was another obstruction called the Earth and its curvature. So, gentlemen, ladies, everybody. Oh, and by the way, to reiterate something that I said on Anthony's hangout last night, because yes, I did go into Anthony's hangout. To reiterate something, if you're going to come back on this, come back with your own shit and stuff that you personally can explain. Okay, don't come at me with stuff that somebody else made, and you yourself, even though you are using it, can't even explain it. Okay, all good. So, thank you to Anthony and Ranty Rant for showing me curvature again. Because, oops, that's not it. Because, where is that? Because this photo right here, it's not what you do see, it's not what you can see. And I've said this to 1,000 flat earthers before. Sometimes you guys get so excited that you see something that you don't take a moment to analyze what it is you see. You are not seeing Blackpool. You're seeing the Blackpool Tower, but you're not seeing Blackpool. So it's all good. And so I'm gonna head on out, and that's all I had to say. Otherwise, I'm gonna make this into a 2-hour hangout again, which I honestly do not have time for. I have other things I have to get accomplished today. So, everybody tell Anthony I said hi. Y'all have a nice day.